Welcome to Think Global Education Services. In the previous video, we had seen about what is SAT reading comprehension, the type of questions, and that we need to speed read. Why? Refer to the previous video. For today, we are going to look at how to map the passage. What do we exactly do? What is mapping? Now, mapping the passage, as we referred in the previous video also, is to save time. It doesn't guarantee a correct answer, it saves time. And how to guarantee a correct answer will be in my next video when we're talking about the answer choices. For mapping, now everybody has their own technique, but one universal technique that works for most is that you speed read and you keep your pen moving along. So circle, underline, write down, that helps a lot. Now, there are a few do's and don'ts that you should definitely keep in mind. One, you should always focus. Focus is the key. So, if you don't focus on what's happening in the passage, you will probably have wasted about 15-16 seconds before you realize that you've read the words, but you don't know what's happening. So, focus is the key. You have to do that. Second, when we talk about mapping the passage, we always keep in mind that a passage is from the author's perspective. We never read from our perspective. We should never say that I like this kind of reading, or like how we usually read. If you're a reader, then you can probably fall for this trap easily. That we read for our knowledge, for our information, for our idea. And that type of reading is a lot influenced by what we think is correct. But over here, when we read, we have to read from author's perspective. We should not have our own opinion. So it has to be all about author, because the questions will all be about author's perspective. Basically, we're going to look at where's the subject, what is the tone used, and all the transition words that are used in the passage. And if we do all these three for every paragraph, then of course our work is done. Yeah. So we let our eyes see what's the content, and we'll not let our brain do a lot of inference that no, this is what he has said. We will be having some inference question, and we'll do that, but when we'll solve the question, not in the first 1 minute mapping. In a minute, asking your brain to do so much is actually too much. So initial read of words, you're going to find out in each paragraph what subject is there, what's the tone, and why did the author write it. So basic idea of words is to read to find out why did author write it. Yeah. Now, let me take you to the text, and in this text, I'm going to ask you, or we'll probably do it together, that this is where the writing is, and this is what we should underline, and this is what we should circle, and so on. Okay. I want you to have a pen and a paper ready so you can make notes, and it'll be good if you could take a screenshot maybe of this passage, paste it somewhere so that the screen doesn't go off and you have it with you for your reference later. Yes. Or we can do it in our one-on-one class later. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So this entire passage, as it says, it has 9 questions, and it's from Jane Austen Emma, which tells you that it's a literature-based passage. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs. It's a 90-line long passage. It has 9 paragraphs. So that means 9 different times we will be making notes. Usually you would see literature-based passages have lots of paragraphs, but if it's a history or science-based passage, you'll probably have longer paragraphs, more content, and maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs only. Yeah, let's get back to the passage now. First paragraph, subject, we're talking about Emma. Tone, we have words like all of these, comfortable home, good home, everything. So everything positive. We don't know if we are positive about Emma, but we know that the author's tone is positive. Okay, so we'll put the plus sign in our notes wherever you're making notes. So Emma, a plus sign, which is positive. 21-year-old and little to distress. That means Emma is happy, everything is positive. So that's our notes from the first paragraph. I didn't read all the lines, I just read a few words. So my eyes are reading. My mind is telling me that with these words, this is what it would be. Okay. Emma, youngest, two daughters of the father. Sister is married. We know this information about Emma. Mother died, so we know that Emma, the youngest, sister married, mother died. So she and father are the only one, that means. So we should write the word mother over here so that we know that mother and father, if there's any question asked for it, it comes here. We'll come back to this paragraph and we'll refer. Yeah, next. Excellent women governess. So over here it says excellent women governess, fallen a little short of mother. So governess is taking care of her and she's quite good. So positive about governess. First two paragraphs, everything positive. Next one. So every paragraph, as you move, you ask yourself, how was the transition? So everything is positive. So will I talk about governess more over here? Will I talk about mother? Will I talk about Emma? Who will I talk about here? And will I still go in the same direction? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Okay? So we ask ourselves these questions so we don't get distracted and carried away by the writing. We are always focused on what we have to. Now, next. 16 years, Miss Taylor win governess. So we know that governess name is Taylor. Then between them, intimacy sisters. So she's like a sister to Emma. Taylor hold nominal office of governess. Then certain lines. We can just see the words and say that, okay, nothing too important. Authority now long passed away, living together as friend, mutual attachment. So all the positive things between Emma and Miss Taylor. Does she lie? Diary is dealing with Taylor's judgment, but directed by her own. So she likes what Miss Taylor feels. She likes the judgment also. Again, everything positive, nothing too important. Let's go further. If the direction changed, evil. So the first time some evil kind of word came in, which is a negative word. So now we have to pay attention if there is a change in direction, or if there is a new subject, or what is it that we're talking about? What suddenly happened? Everything was going positive. Evil, Emma's situation, power of having rather too much on pay, disposition to think too little of herself, disadvantage is threatened, danger, however present, means rang misfortunes with her. So everything over here says that because of all the positives, Emma is actually in some kind of negative situation. Okay, so first three paragraphs positive. So now you can make note over here because of above. So just brief notes, you can make it in your language. Because of above, Emma is in some kind of negative thing. Sorrow came. Next paragraph talks about more sorrows, again negative. Sorrow came, shape of disagreeable consequence, Miss Taylor married. So first paragraph, sister married. Did I have sorrow? Nothing. Mother died. Did I have sorrow? I mean, there might be sorrows, but it's not mentioned. Yeah, so we will not assume that there were sorrows. There were certain things. Next one over here. Sorrows came. It's written, so we will believe in it. So if somebody is dying or somebody is getting married, we will not assume anything until the author has said. Here the author said, so now sorrow came because of the marriage. Taylor's got married. This is the first thought of grief. It was on wedding day. Wedding over, bride people gone, father herself led to die. So now this is the description of how she's feeling after Miss Taylor is gone. We know this paragraph is about that. We don't have to read everything. Think of what she had lost. So now she's thinking about Miss Taylor. We know in this paragraph. So sorrow came, Miss Taylor married, she's thinking of her. That's the take you can write for this paragraph. Next. Even with every promise happiness, Mr. Wheaton. So happiness was given by Mr. Wheaton to whom? To Miss Taylor. Easy fortune, suitable age, all of these things. Generous friendship, wish promoted match, black morning. So all of this is about Mr. Weston. The want of Miss Taylor would be felt every hour. So now I know that Mr. Weston took Miss Taylor, and Miss Taylor has been um, uh, uh, missed by Emma. She recalled all the good things about her, the illness of childhood and everything. So now we will write down in our notes that in this paragraph, some new character introduced, Mr. Weston, took Miss Taylor, um, Emma, Mrs. Miss Taylor. So if any question asks about Mr. Weston or missing Taylor, we'll refer over here. Depth of gratitude owing her in the course of 7 years, every footing. So now she's just remembering in this paragraph. It has been friend, compassion, all of this. So again, remembering Miss Taylor. Every pleasure to whom affection she could never find fault. So once again, in this entire paragraph, I am missing Miss Taylor, is what we are talking about. Next one. How was she to bear the change? It was true that her friend was going half mile from them. So now Miss Taylor is just going half mile away. But Emma was aware great must be the difference between Mrs. Weston, only half mile from them, and Miss Taylor in the house. Just like somebody far and has changed to Weston and Taylor, so even if it's half a mile, it's still a lot of difference for her. He could not meet her in conversation, rational or playful. So who's not able to meet? Who's this he? Okay, we didn't know. So let's go back over here. Taylor, advantage, domestic. Then we have suffering, intellectual solitude, dearly fond of father. So we know that all of this is about Miss Taylor, who's far. And then I'm saying that she dearly loved her father. That means Emma loves father also. But father is very rational and he's not really very playful. So could not meet her conversation. So father, I love her, but he is not like Miss Taylor. That's what is paragraph saying. Last paragraph, the factual disparity in their ages. So we're talking about father here. That means father's ages. Mr. Woodhouse had not married early, was much increased with the constitution of habits and mind, body, older man in years. So we know that this paragraph talks about the man, the father. So the entire paragraph talks, the entire passage is talking about Emma and the relation she had with Miss Taylor, how she's missing Miss Taylor, not a lot about, nothing basically about sister, mother, or Mr. Weston too much. But last paragraph does talk about the father, saying that she loves the father, but he's not as good as Emma was. Sorry, Miss Taylor was, because of difference in age, because of the temper, and a lot of other things. So that's how you map the entire passage. Now you would have some notes with you, yeah, in your copies. With those notes, you can solve all the general questions. Questions like main idea question can be solved. Questions about general tone or primary purpose could be solved with this. And any specific question that asks you, so okay, was Emma missing Miss Taylor kind of question. So you can go to, and more details about it. So you can go to the paragraph where which we were talking about she's missing, and you can you'll not have to read everything. So this is basically what mapping is. Once you have mapped the passage, you are good to go with solving most of the questions. Yes. Okay, so we'll keep it till here for right now. In the next video, I'm going to start taking you to all the question types first. And once we're done all the question types, then we'll come back to this passage and we'll do the questions based on this passage. So hold on to your reading of this one, because we will come back to this passage and solve the questions also. Okay, but before I take you to the questions of this one, let me explain you each type of question, or let me put it this way, most type of questions. Thank you for watching Think Global Education video.